Welcome back to the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Morgan. This is part 2 of our 3-part series. And this series is all about what is really going on in the healing journey. This is the truth about healing. I'm giving you the inside, behind the scenes, what's going on emotionally, what's really going on when you're deciding to heal. And in part 2, this is where we're talking about the decision, the pivotal moment when you say, I can't keep living like this. When you actually choose yourself and you realize that the only way that I'm going to get different results in my life is if I show up differently. So, this is a very special episode. And I think a lot of you know my story. But in case you don't know, my decision to heal was not something that I came to lightly. I'm one of those people, I had to actually hit absolute rock bottom. And if that's you, I'm sending you so much love because wouldn't it have been a lot easier if that wasn't the case? Okay. So trust me, I get it. If you are at that place where you've had to hit rock bottom too in your life, I know how hard that is. I was in a relationship with a narcissist for a year and a half. And the last 6 months of that relationship completely destroyed me in terms of having zero self worth. There was obviously a ton of emotional abuse. I was just completely beaten down. I became a shell of myself. I would look in the mirror, I would not recognize myself. My friends didn't want to be around me. My best friend I was living with at the time basically said, Hey, I love you, but I just can't keep seeing you like this. This is too painful for me to witness. So she moved out of our shared apartment. Um, I was alone, isolated, felt horribly, horribly low. And then there was physical abuse in the relationship. And the end of that relationship was a near death experience for me. And I remember it's the morning after this all went down, and I'm in the lobby of my apartment complex, and I'm in so much emotional pain. Like this one person that was giving me dopamine, the one person that I had left in my life had completely betrayed me. And, I almost died the night before. And then I'm in the lobby of my apartment complex and I'm on the floor crying, and all my neighbors are walking by and they're giving me these looks filled with pity. They look sad. Uh, they're like looking at me, like shaking their heads. And I just remember I'm telling this police officer what happened because I'm having to file the police report about the incident the night before. And uh, I'm like looking up at this police officer. He's looking down at me. And I felt like I was floating above my body. Like I was floating above my body, watching this whole instance go down, this whole scenario. And I just remember thinking, this can't be me. This can't be my life. This cannot be my life. If I continue down this road, I don't know how much longer I will be alive. I don't know how much longer I'll be alive. This is one of those spiritual moments in my life. I felt like I've had a few of these moments where you look down one way and it's dark and it's filled with self loathing and pain and all the mental health issues and just absolute suffering and struggle. And I saw that path and I thought, you know, I would get to continue drinking. There's probably like some fun things down that path, but it is just so, so dark and so, so, so painful. And then I saw this other path and it was light and it was a bright white light. And as I'm looking down that path, I feel love and I felt the presence of my mom who had passed away. And I felt like God, universe, angels in that moment said to me, there's this path. And this is the path, I get emotional thinking about this, but this is the path where you have to let go of all your past trauma. You have to actually look yourself in the mirror and learn how to love yourself. And this is the path where you're going to figure out how to have a healthy relationship. And I remember hearing that and not really believing it because I didn't even believe healthy relationships were possible. But, God, angels, universe is saying you're going to figure it out. You are going to learn how to have secure attachment, how to have love in your life that lasts. And you're going to figure it out. And what if you help people figure it out? What if you help other people figure it out? And it was in that moment that the seeds were planted for what is now the Empowered, Secure, Loved program. This beautiful program that has changed, thousands of people's lives, and helped so many people. And it all came out of, in that moment, me deciding, you know what? I am going to heal because I can't live like this anymore. I can't, be filing a police report and not recognizing myself when I look in the mirror and having absolutely no self-worth. I can't keep doing that. Right. And I made the decision to heal. And it was once again out of rock bottom. So, my hope for you is that you don't have to get to rock bottom to decide to heal. You can actually, one really thing that's helpful is you could actually see, oh, if I continue down this path, I'm probably going to get to rock bottom. And hopefully, you make the decision before you actually get there. So, even using the pain that you currently have as a motivation, right? I think that's one of the beautiful things about pain when we can use it as motivation to make a different decision, when we can use it as motivation to show up differently, it can be so, so powerful. Instead of using it as a way to stay stuck, right? Using pain to fuel victim mentality, it's really not helpful. The most helpful thing we can do is say, okay, I'm going to use this and I'm going to use it to fuel my change because I know that I can control how I show up and I'm going to change the things that are within my control and that I can get myself into different circumstances. That's when pain is really helpful. So I want to talk to you today, though. What happens when we're making this decision? What are the things you can expect when you finally do make the decision? And I'll talk not just from my experience, but experiences of clients. And we're going to just be very, very open about the healing journey. As I mentioned in part one, I do have a really special announcement for you today. And this has come with so much reflection, time, prayer, meditation. This has been a really, really thought out decision. And I have a lot of emotions talking about this. Some of you may know this. The Empowered, Secure, Loved program has been around since, honestly, since early 2020, but officially going as its own entity. The first group was in July of 2020. It has been over 5 years of running this program. I have poured my blood, sweat, tears into this program, into serving it's at this point, it's around 1,000 plus people that I've been able to help through this work. And it has been the most meaningful way to spend my time. And I get emotional thinking about it because I have so many people that I have connected to through this program and people that have gone on to get married, have children, who reach out to me from time to time, people that I have even become friends with and would consider very valuable people in my life. And that's all been because of this program. And it's been 5 years of service, and I adore this work. I have helped so many people, and the real truth is that it's also helped me. It's also helped me, showing up and serving and having to teach the things that I'm embodying, and the times when my own healing journey has been tough, having the inspiration of my clients. It's been one of the biggest gifts of my life running this program. And just how life is, right? Life does this where sometimes we need to step away to let things evolve, to let things grow. And it is with a lot of thought and time, prayer, that I have decided that the Empowered, Secure, Loved program as we know it, the way that it is currently being offered as a deeply supportive, high touch coaching experience, the way that it's currently being offered and run after 5 years, that it is closing at the end of the year. So applications will no longer be accepted after December 31st. So this has been a really challenging decision. I once again am really excited about some of the space that this creates in terms of the new things that will be offered and ways that I can grow and evolve. And I also want you to know that these last 3 months of the year, obviously, we have really limited spots. The cool thing about this is that this last quarter of this year, I mean, I am going to show up so much for this group. This is such a special group to me. Just like at the very beginning, I'll never forget the people who started the program. I know I feel the same way right now about the people who are joining. This is such a special opportunity. This is the final group of people who will be going through this program. So I know how some of you think. You're like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting to join. Oh my gosh, now I should join. But some of you are like, oh, but is she really going to show up if she's closing this thing? Like, is it really going to be what it's supposed to be? And I want you to know, yes, I'm going to show up the best that I have ever shown up. And I always have this mantra of finish strong. So we will finish this program very strong. And I want you to know that if you've been on the fence, if you've ever said, hey, I really want to work with Dr. Morgan, this is the last opportunity. This is it. So really, truly, thank you. Thank you to oh my gosh, I'm going to cry thank you to every single person that has come through the program. And I don't take it lightly that you have trusted me and trusted my team with your healing. And I am so grateful to see the transformation, the gifts that this program has brought. And I'm so excited about the future as well. I really am. Um, just a ton of gratitude, a ton of gratitude. So, if you've been listening to the show and you have put this off, this is your last chance. This is really your last chance. And we have some incredible bonuses, some amazing things. One of the things I want you to realize is that this month in October, when you enroll in the program, you do get a bonus month. And I may continue that. I'm not sure. But instead of it being 2 months, you get 3 months with us, meaning that's going to take you all the way into January, right? You are going to have everything you need to start 2026 out right. So this is your opportunity. This is it. Don't miss it. Applications are closing at the end of the year. And I don't want you to miss out on this program that has literally changed thousands of lives. And there's a lot of people out there online that I don't trust, that I've heard really terrible things about. And I'm not naming any names. I know that there's those of you who are like, but is Dr. Morgan for real? Is this legit? And I just want you to know, yes, this is for real. I genuinely care about every single person that comes through the program. We make sure you get what you need. This is not just like, you know, marketing smoke and mirrors. Okay. This is legitimate. When you come into the program, we support you. We make sure you get what you need to become securely attached. So I think of anything, that is something that I really feel for the person who's trying to make the decision about how are they going to get support, how are they going to go through their healing journey, because there's just so much out there and it can feel so hard to know who's legit and who's not. So if you have any questions, you can always DM me at Dr. Morgan Coaching on Instagram. You can also listen to any of our past episodes where I'm interviewing people who have gone through the program. We have amazing clients who've come on the show and who have shared their journey of doing this work. So don't take it from me, take it from our clients, right? Take it from all the people who have completely transformed their lives by doing this work. Um, I know that there's so many of you listening to this who are really, really worthy of doing this, who need to just make the decision to heal, which is what we're talking about today in today's episode. Let me get back to today's episode, okay? Now that I've made this announcement, take it in, process it, realize that, okay, the clock is ticking. You have 77 days until 2026. What are you going to do? What are you going to do at the end of the year? Are you going to look back and say, I'm so grateful I worked on myself. I'm so grateful that I'm now embodying my highest and best self, that I am actually becoming the version of me who can attract the level of partner that I actually deserve? Are you going to have that gratitude, or are you going to have the regret? The regret of, well, just another, year of moving through things, just another year of trying to date, trying to find my person. Maybe you hire a matchmaker, try all these things, right? Try to look a certain way, tell yourself the lie that if you just look a certain way, then you'll attract the partner. Are you just going to spend another year spinning your wheels? Or are you actually going to commit and do the work that will change your life and that will bring you that relationship that you really want? Okay. Go to the link in the show notes, apply to the program. Clock is ticking. And thank you once again to everyone who has been part of the ESL program. I'd love to hear from you, by the way. If you have done the program and obviously you listen to the show, will you just send me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Morgan Coaching and just tell me about your experience? I'm already getting emotional thinking about those of you that I will connect with. But just send me a DM. I'd love to hear from you. I love when I get the random wedding photos or the update of you with your baby, or seriously, the update of, hey, I'm happy, I'm thriving, I'm in a career I love, and I'm enjoying my dating life. It's not about the result. It's not about, oh, you had the wedding. It's about who you become, right? That you're in love with who you are, you're securely attached, you're confident. I love those updates. The wedding, the baby, the husband, etc., all of that is a wonderful bonus, and it's just the easy result of what happens when you shift internally. So if you've ever done the program, shoot me a DM. I want to connect with you. Okay. If you're in the program right now, you can also DM me. Tell me how it's going. I love connecting with you all. It is such a joy. So it's Dr. Morgan Coaching. Okay, moving on. Today, making the decision. When you decide to heal, something kind of funny happens. The universe likes to send you a bunch of tests. It's this wild, wild thing of you start changing internally because you're making the decision. And it's amazing the relief that you feel just from making the decision, just from saying, yep, I'm going to do whatever it takes so that I show up differently. I'm going to process my past relational trauma. I'm going to rewire my belief systems. I'm going to change my behaviors. I'm going to learn how to embody a calm, securely attached, regulated nervous system. When you make the decision, you already start to feel better just from making the decision. And I'm not saying like, oh, maybe I'm going to do it. But when you are all in, a lot of our clients, they immediately feel better once they decide to join the program. Just the decision to join the program and actually do the work, they start to feel better because you're going, oh, I'm I'm actually changing. I'm doing it. There's a lot of relief in that. What else happens when you make the decision to heal? Like I said, the universe is going to send you tests. So, for example, I know someone who joined our program, things are going really well. They're starting to have shifts in their lives. And then they total their car and the car is totaled. What is that? That is a test, right? It's like, how are you going to handle this? What's going to happen when something goes really, really wrong in your life? Are you going to respond with the old identity or are you going to start to choose your new identity, right? That version of you that has decided to heal. And these tests can show up in all kinds of ways. Another thing that can happen is called an extinction burst. This is psychology of behavior and learning. Um, you can look it up if you want to. An extinction burst happens when we're getting rid of an old behavior. So, for example, let's say you've decided you're no longer going to drink Diet Coke. This would be me, except I haven't made that decision. I love my occasional Diet Coke. But for this example, you've decided you're no longer going to drink Diet Coke. You're done with it. Okay. And you're doing well. You've got a week, you've got 10 days. And then, oh my gosh, at the 14-day mark, 2 weeks in, you have this intense craving for Diet Coke and you go and you drink 4 in a day. This is something called an extinction burst. As the behavior is dying, it's normal for it to come back in all at once and for you to have that big burst of behavior because the brain is going, okay, I understand we're trying to get rid of this behavior. Are you sure it's something that you no longer want? So when people are becoming securely attached, and let's say they have anxious attachment and they're learning how to regulate their nervous system, they have a new belief system that supports them showing up in a securely attached way. They're doing really, really well. And then all of a sudden they spiral and they text their ex and they post a gym selfie just for validation purposes because they want that hit of external validation to give them some dopamine. What else do? They go on 3 dates in a weekend with nobody that they're actually interested in, but just to feel like they're going on dates. And they do all of these anxious attachment behaviors in a burst. This is the brain saying, hey, this is the old identity. These are the old behaviors. I see we're trying to get rid of them. We're trying to, extinction, have those behaviors become extinct. So let's just throw them all at you in a big surge. And what happens is some people, when they're on their healing journey, they've made the decision, they're starting to do the work, whatever, then they go through an extinction burst and they freak out and they go, oh my gosh, I guess I'm not healing. I guess I'm doing it wrong. Oh my gosh, why am I even doing this if these behaviors are still here? And they make it mean all of these things about it not working. They're not doing it right. They get really, really hard on themselves. And if you're not careful, having an extinction burst can actually really just throw you off. And it can cause you to go, well, I might as well just go back to my old ways. And I want you to know that now that you know this, when you're on your healing journey and you notice a big burst of old behavior, I want you to just go, oh, yeah, of course that happened. That's the extinction burst. And then you get to have so much compassion and you get to be so curious and be like, where did that come from? What was it triggered by? And now, how do I align with my highest and best self? How do I continue to choose differently? Okay. So this is something really, really key for you to be aware of. And I have a few other things I want you to be aware of as you're deciding to heal. And the next thing is what happens in your relationships? What happens in your friendships? You may have people who, number one, this is best case scenario, they notice you're changing. They cheer you on. They say, "Hey, what are you doing?" This happens to people who go through the program. The people in their lives start saying to them, "Hey, what's different about you? You just seem happy. You're glowing. Like, what's going on?" Right? So people start noticing, they're cheering you on. The other scenario is you may have people that say, I don't really know if I like you anymore. And they may not say that directly, but maybe they're canceling plans. Maybe they're not calling you, they're not texting you. And it's because you are changing internally. Maybe the things you used to put up with, maybe it was like bitching and complaining about the dating scene. And now that you're becoming secure and you're letting go of your old beliefs, you're not doing that anymore. You know it's wasted energy, and then you have a friend that's all they want to do. And when you try to set a boundary, it really hurts their feelings. And then all of a sudden, this person's becoming more distant from you. You're not as close to them, right? It's so normal that when you start to change, when you're on your healing journey, your friend circle is going to change. The people you hang out with, it's going to change. So I need you to just be aware of this so that when it happens, you know that, yep, of course, and you have compassion. And then you need to remember this, that as people are leaving your life, it's making space for more aligned people to come in. My friend circle looks nothing like it did even 6 years ago. Obviously I have some core people that I've maintained relationships with for a long time. But there's also a lot of people that I just no longer aligned with. And now there's more people who are aligned, and it feels easy because we are headed in the same direction in life. So you have to not cling to those relationships. And the worst thing you could do is try to regress to your past self to make those people comfortable, to keep them in your life. That is what you don't want to do. So this is totally normal as you're healing your friendships, the people in your life. It's going to change. The final thing I want to talk about, when you've made this decision to heal, there's something really great that happens. You start to have hope. You have hope. You start to get a little bit of clarity around what your life could really look like. What happens when you are embodying your highest and best self? You start to get clarity around, hey, I think my life can be different. I think I can feel different. You start to have some good days. And I think of this as like the blinders are coming off. When you are navigating from old models, when you have a ton of unhelpful beliefs about yourself and low self worth and an insecure attachment style, and you're just stuck and you're repeating patterns, it's like you're seeing the world in shades of black and white and gray. You have the lens of low self worth is blocking you from truly experiencing your life the way that it is meant to be experienced. So that when you make this decision to heal, you start to immediately feel better. You start to see possibilities. You start to have hope. You start to get clarity on what kind of life you actually want instead of what you feel like you've deserved or what's only been possible for you. The limitations start to fade away. And for a lot of our clients, as they're going through the program, they talk about just this joy and peace that they start to feel, even in the beginning, right? When they have made the decision to do the work on themselves, it's because their body, their brain, they're finally realizing that things can actually be different. So, this is such a powerful place. It's such a beautiful place to be. Making the decision needs to be celebrated. I always tell my clients when they start the work that you got to celebrate this. You got to celebrate that You could have just stayed the same. You could have just gone in your comfort zone. You could have gone back to earlier versions of yourself and just embraced this identity that was stuck, that was comfortable, right? But also really unhappy. You could have just stayed there, but you decided to heal. You decided to get out of your comfort zone. You decided to do the painful work of processing your past relational trauma and then letting it go, right? I think we don't celebrate enough the decisions around choosing to work on ourselves. I know for me, when I finally made the decision to do this work on myself, can really, really, truly begin my healing journey on an emotional level, not just a logical brain level, right? But to actually be vulnerable with myself and really, truly do this work. I know I didn't celebrate it, and I wish I would have, honestly. Like, I wish I would have. I wish I would have had more compassion and grace at that time and been like, hey, this was major. You could have just kept repeating those patterns, but you drew the line in the sand and you decided to heal. So I want every single person that makes that decision to celebrate it. Whatever that celebration looks like for you. Maybe it's just taking a hot bath, listening to your favorite playlist and writing yourself a love letter, you know, or maybe it's taking yourself out to your favorite restaurant and having a special meal with you and a good friend and telling them about your decision. But we don't celebrate this enough as a culture. Like, yeah, okay, you got the promotion or the person got married or wow, they're having a baby. What about the celebration of, hey, I'm going to set down my past relational trauma and I'm going to decide to work on myself and become my best self. I'm going to work on becoming the version of me who is no longer burdened by their past relational trauma. To me, that is so worth celebrating. So, obviously, if that's you, if you're like, hey, Dr. Morgan, I hear you, I need to decide, I need to make this decision. And I've been listening to you and I'm repeating patterns and I know that I need to work on myself. Go apply to the Empowered, Secure, Loved program. I would love to support you. It is time. It is your time. Time to lay the foundation for 2026. Okay, I want to go over everything we talked about in this episode, okay? When it comes to what is happening internally when you make the decision to heal, number one, you get that immediate relief. You've made the decision. You're no longer in ambivalence mode. You've decided, yep, things are going to be different, right? And I'm not talking about just kind of making the decision, like dipping your toe in, being like, oh, yeah, I'll work on that next week. I mean, when you are all in and you're holding yourself accountable and you know you've made the decision that things are going to be different, that's when you start to feel relief just from having made the decision. Okay. What's the next thing that happens? A lot of times you get tests from the universe. I don't know exactly why this happens. If you're interested in understanding maybe why, I could recommend Gay Hendricks' book called The Big Leap. He talks about the upper limit theory, about how a lot of us really, really struggle when we're stepping into a new level of identity, and how oftentimes that creates a lot of things that come up for us that sabotage our healing journeys, that sabotage us becoming our highest and best selves. But this is totally normal. When you say, hey, I'm going to heal, I'm doing this, it's normal that the universe is going to throw you some curveballs and ask you, are you sure? Are you serious? Right? Do you really want to do this? The next thing we talked about, and this is a really important one, so many people are not aware of this and it throws them off of their healing journey. So I'm glad you tuned in and you are now aware. We talked about extinction bursts, how when you are deciding to no longer show up with certain behaviors, oftentimes they come back in a huge burst, meaning they increase. And then a lot of times, if you're not aware of this phenomena, it makes you question, am I really healing? Am I making any progress? And a lot of people will just kind of abandon their healing journey at this point, which In reality, when this happens, when that extinction bursts, the old behavior comes back with a vengeance, it is your invitation to heal it more deeply. It's your invitation to say, yep, I see you. I understand that behavior and it still feels shitty. It's still something I don't want to do. I'm going to give it so much compassion, so much grace, and I'm going to lovingly set it aside. And I'm going to choose to align with my highest and best self. I'm going to choose to align with my secure self, right? So extinction bursts happen all the time. Another thing that happens, your friend group changes. And I'll talk about this in part 3 because this continues to happen throughout your healing journey. But your friend group changes. A lot of times, even just by saying you're working on yourself, you're like, hey, I made the decision. I'm doing Dr. Morgan's program, or I'm deciding that I'm going to prioritize my health and I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, or, insert whatever thing you decide that's going to improve your life. And even just by telling your friends, that can make people uncomfortable because it forces them to look at themselves and kind of question where they are at. So it can make it really uncomfy. So automatically, just by you deciding to better yourself, you're going to shift your friend group. You're going to have people that grow with you, and you're going to have people that don't grow with you. And that's okay. You have to let it go. You have to realize that by prioritizing your well-being, your healing, that is the best thing that you can do for yourself and for other people. And then that's where some people will fall into the trap of reverting to old versions of themselves because they're prioritizing not being abandoned by people over their own healing. So that's why I wanted to really talk about this and make you aware of it so that when that does come up, you can lovingly choose the growth path, right? And then the final thing I talked about is that when you decide to heal, you have hope. You have hope. You start to realize, oh, when I show up differently, I can get different results. And you start to connect to all kinds of possibilities about your future, about your relationships, about things you want to do in your life. And you start to immediately feel better just by making the decision to heal. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know we covered a lot, and I know I shared a little bit of my story at the beginning, which I wasn't even planning on doing, but I think it's important to be vulnerable with you all about kind of what I was going through when I was making this decision, and that once again, I had hit rock bottom. And I don't wish that for any of you. I hope that you don't have to hit rock bottom. You could actually just make the decision now, you know? Um, and then we talked about everything that comes up for you when you're making the decision. And of course, I shared my announcement with you that the program is closing applications at the end of the year. And obviously, that was a big announcement for me. This has been 5 years of this program. And I'll be totally transparent with you. It is going away in the way that it is currently being run, which is, high touch. You're getting one-on-one support. You're also getting group support. You're getting lifetime access to all of my intellectual property, AKA the empowered, secure, loved coursework. You have lifetime access to that. So that current format, that is going away. And I don't know if it's ever coming back. I don't. I'm in this phase of evolving, of figuring it out. I'm in the kind of era of having to lean into my own secure attachment with my work, my own secure attachment with this beautiful business and mission that I have, and really leaning into my self trust about what is next. So the reality is, I don't know if it's coming back. If you have been on the fence, please don't wait. I don't want you to miss this. This has been, once again, just such a gift to see so many people go through this program. And if you've ever been like, I'm kind of curious about it, do not wait. Please do not wait. This is your sign, okay? Go apply to the program. Use the link in the show notes. I am sending you so much love. I appreciate you being part of the Let's Get Vulnerable community. And I can't wait for Monday's episode where we're diving into what happens when you are on the healing journey, talking about the messy middle, the lifelong commitment of healing? What is the stuff that people don't tell you about? The healing journey is not perfect. I feel like we get this idea on Instagram, all these curated photos and posts about, reaching enlightenment or some sort of perfect status. And that's just not the case. So I will, in Monday's episode, talk to you about the real truth of what's going on when you fully commit to healing and the joys of it and the real talk, right? The things that are challenging. So we'll go into it all on Monday. I cannot wait for that episode. I'm sending you so much love. Thank you for being part of this community. Once again, if you've ever done the program, make sure you send me a DM at Dr. Morgan Coaching on Instagram. I'd love to connect. And as always, I'm wishing you high self-worth and great relationships. I'll talk with you soon.